Welcome back, everybody, to the Squatchers Lounge podcast. That's right, we are back. A little bit weak voice, but we're going to push on through it. Tonight, we're talking about 1982 in Grays Harbor, Washington, one of the most recognized tracks on the planet. We've got a new Bigfoot campfire story, as well as a new Quasi Theory and a camping tips for stupids. So that's right, stick around. It's the Squatchers Lounge podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome indeed to the show. First things up this week, the reservations are made. Crap, I did it again like a dummy. There we go. Nope, next one. There we go. El Dorado Bigfoot Watches Operation Pie Pie Valley is going to be June 12th through the 16th at the Pie Pie Valley Campground. We've already got confirmations coming in daily. I got some new ones this week, so we are already got quite a little trip planned as well. If you want to get on board with us, contact me via email at sloungepodcast@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook. Send me a message over YouTube. There's a billion and one ways to do it. You can also find me over at the Patreon feed at patreon.com/cryptid corner, because that's going to be soon the only place you can find any of the Reverend stories, because they're all leaving YouTube. That's correct. Eventually, there'll be nothing left on YouTube but a bunch of old liberal snowflakes. Yay! All right, people. That's right. We are talking about Grays Harbor, Washington this week, but back by request from a lot of our VIP fans, we do have some news to talk about this week. Hey, don't forget to join the Squatchers Lounge at facebook.com/groups/SLounge, and that'll put you in there to where all of we hang out, we talk about things and ask questions and get answers. But don't troll, because believe me, those people will eat you alive. All right, first up tonight, the new dates narrowed down when the Denisovians and Neanderthals were crossing paths. Mysterious ancient hominids known as the Denisovians, and their evolutionary cousins, the Neanderthals, frequented the southern Siberian caves starting at a surprisingly long time ago. Two new studies find evidence for visits by those populations to the Denisova cave beginning around 200,000 years ago for Neanderthals, and possibly as early as 300,000 years ago for the Denisovans. They appeared around the January 31st in Nature. It was known that the members of the two extinct hominid species, assumed extinct, had occupied the Siberian cave at a few points during the Stone Age, but the new evidence offers that the best look to the date for the Denisovans and Neanderthals reached the site and how the two hominid species may have interacted, including wow, that's right, mixing of the bloods. The one new study, the team led by geoarchaeologist Zenobia Jacobs, found that the Denisovans occupied the Siberian cave as recently as 55,000 years ago, while a second investigation directed by archaeologist Katrina Doka places the Denisovans' last stand at the site in roughly the same ballpark. As for the Neanderthals, the last inhabited cave roughly 97,000 years ago, Jacobs Groups estimates. That's right. Whole bunch of new tools and trinkets. They're finding things of decoration, things that are leading to culture. These are things that people are said to have culture when they adorn themselves with decoration and trade items and those types of things. So it's interesting to see that other humans outside of Homo sapiens before us were doing the same types of things. Kind of neat. A little bit of sad news this week in the cryptozoology news reports by Lauren Coleman that the paranthropus theorist Gordon S. Strasenberg has passed away. Unknown, unsung researcher and theorist in hominology and cryptology silently passed away this week. He was 77 of North Bend, Oregon. Died August 7th, 2018. I don't know why this is just coming up in the news, but apparently there you have it. I missed that one. So Yeah, now I look like a jackass. Whatever. Sorry, dude. Rest in peace. Recent Bigfoot sightings at Sutton Lake have historic precedent. That's right. Although that thing there is not a Bigfoot, by the way. Not a Bigfoot. A furfoot, I don't know. Fun furfoot. I have no idea what that is, but it is definitely not a Sasquatch. Sightings of a Bigfoot allegedly recently at Sutton Lake in central West Virginia may have a historic precedent. Old news clippings that refer to a wild man and more recent studies of an ape-like creature at least imply that the region is a fertile ground for such tales. The county at the very center of the West Virginia is coincidentally home of the legendary Flatwoods Monster, also known as the Braxton County Green Monster, the legend of which attracts many tourists to the region. According to Andrew Smith, executive director of the Braxton County Convention and Visitors Bureau, rumors of a Bigfoot have been circulating in recent months and have even inspired one Bigfoot researcher to post a video of a lakeside hunt online. We've heard of an uptick in reports near the lake, says Smith, who attributes the county's wealth of monstrous encounter to part to its dark skies and deep forests. So there you have it. That one, you can check that one out. West Virginia Explorer, wvexplorer.com. All right. So yeah, here was this story in the news, and tough little fellow, whatever the case. Kid disappears from his backyard. He's gone for like 2.5 days, 3 days. They find him. He says he hung out with Yogi the Bear for a couple of days. Now, a relative for the 3-year-old Casey Hathaway, who went missing for several days before he was found, said the boy was a tough little fella. Julia Toller said that the outcome of the 2-day search had found her great-grandson. It was a miracle. She said that the sight of the child on Tuesday while he was playing outside in North Carolina. They play out there all the time. They go back and forth from my house to my daughter's house. Well, I'm glad he's fine, but it would have been a terrible for if something had happened to him. Well, everybody has jumped on the, it wasn't no bear. He hung out with a Bigfoot. Bigfoot kept him alive because bears hibernate in the wintertime. Not all bears hibernate in the wintertime, especially when they're not in alpine conditions. So chances of it really being a bear, probably pretty high. Moving right along. Witnesses recall seeing a Bigfoot in Utah, but experts aren't buying it. Who are these experts and where did they get their accreditation? I really wonder. Provo, Utah, whether Bigfoot is real or not, it is more question of faith than science. Case in point, the last sighting in Provo, Utah, the incident happened earlier this month. And of course, there was a video. Seriously, look at how big it is. I don't think it's human. I think it's a Sasquatch, said a Provo man. It was clear January morning in the foothills of northeast Provo when a group of guys saw a figure on the mountain that looked like something they'd never seen before. I guess they've never seen a man in black clothing before. You can't just see something like that maybe once in a century discovered and go do your 9-to-5 job. You got to go look for fur or footprints or some kind of evidence. Sadly, they didn't find any. Moving right along. Okay, Arkansas Bigfoot sightings have a long history in Arkansas. Of course they do. Bigfoot or Sasquatch has been spotted in Arkansas numerous times over the years. The creature has become something of an icon in the state. It serves as a team mascot for the Northwest Arkansas Naturals. It's also commemorated, stuttering jackass, commemorated with a statue in Bentonville and greets tourists in Cane Hill. A Bigfoot sighting was reported in Dutch Mills in Washington County in 1977. A man named Ed Bailey said the creature broke into his milk cows and left claw marks and tracks. The most famous Sasquatch sighting of Arkansas is probably the Folk Monster. Yeah, I never spelled that right. In 1971, a Texarkana family said they were attacked by a mysterious creature. The incident inspired the legend of Boggy Creek. Check that one out. 4029 News. They are bitching about my ad blocker. So yay them. Here we go. The Patreon feed at patreon.com/cryptid corner. Buck gets you a general admission ticket. The deer hunter shocked by Bigfoot encounter is up there. The hiker attacked by Bigfoot in Virginia is up there. Man watches Bigfoot throwing rocks is up there. There's a bunch of stuff up there. The audio only podcasts are up there. Bigfoot trapped in a California barn. There's some of the other ones, and as soon as my voice is finally finished healing, I'll get those cannibal dwarves up there as well, I swear. But we're doing the podcast tonight, so that's at least start. Patreon.com/cryptid corner, and you can help a brother out. That's how it's done, because YouTube took away all of my monetization, all of it. I can't use super chat. I can't use nothing. I can't use pay-per-view. They've just said, and that's exactly where we're going to leave it. So with that being said, now it is time for a Quasi Theory of the week. So let's take a listen to Mr. Dean Cooper. That's not it. There it is. And now, Quasi Theories from a Quasi Scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
All's well that ends in a well. My wife's father, Max, passed away back in the fall of 1988, a few years after her mother. Her sister and my family had the task of cleaning out the house. They had moved into the house, a rental, back in the mid-1960s. The house was built around 1900, before electricity, village-supplied water, and sewers were put in. You could see where the outhouse used to be, and when electricity came into vogue, the wires were run through the gas pipes. Whoever had the house built, quite the moderns, no coal furnace for them. The gas lights and gas furnace made the house quite chic for the turn of the new century. Max was an avid reader. All the Chicago and local papers, Popular Science, Popular Mechanics, and much more. 25 years of much more. Max never threw any of it out. The basement was full of them. Now, my wife and her sister were hardly able to deal with the massive amounts of personal effects they had to go through. Luckily for them, my brother Daryl, his strapping young son Aaron, in his early 20s, and I were available. Daryl, who starred with me in my Quasi Theory, currently has something leaving single pennies around her house. It left one outside the bathroom door yesterday. It wasn't there when she went in. Her husband wasn't home, and her cats and dogs are not noted for handling spare change. She should be quite happy that something is concerned about her physical well-being. So, we're all going through the stuff on the first floor, deciding who could use or deserve to have all the utensils, toasters, and which items of all that mound worth of debris went into the rented dumpster. Evening drew near, and one of us, I don't recall which one of us, declared that the house had gone all creepy feeling, like something was watching us. That's when my wife said that she and her sister had always thought the house was haunted. Great. Now she tells us. There are some things that are common to people who are, as it is said, sensitive. Sensitive as in sensitive to the unseen entities and forces around the planet, and apparently Max's house. First, the lighting seems to change, brighter or darker, but without actually changing. Things seem visually sharper, and sound a bit dampened. You'll feel a little colder or warmer. You may get the old goosebumps and the hairs on the back of your neck rising routine. To my family, this means it's time to hunt the thing down. We went from room to room, and the weird feelings went in front of us or crept behind. We decided the obvious thing to do was head to the basement. That's got to be its lair. So Daryl, Aaron, and I tromped on down there. We could sense it moving ahead of us. We had it on the run, while still generating very intense feelings of waves of nasty intent. It moved away whenever we got near where we felt it had moved to. It finally seemed to stop in the southeast corner of the basement, in front of a small door. We hadn't really noticed the door before. Beyond that end of the basement was the area under the front porch. A newer house would just have dirt under the front porch. We hadn't a clue as to what was on the other side of that smallish door. It was less than 6 feet tall. I went to open it. Daryl said, "Dean, don't do it. Leave the thing alone. It's really nasty and too strong for us." Aaron, whose face was a bit whitish by now, didn't say much of anything. Well, I opened the door, of course. The entity was feeling really royally pissed off about it. I could feel it trying to surround and envelop me. So I told it to do its worst and stepped in. It was very musty and damp, but the little room had a light with a pull chain, a cement floor, and a hand pump. It was a well room set up so you didn't have to freeze your ass off going outside to get water in the winter. The nasty, spooky bugger suddenly quieted down as I felt it going down in the well. It was just some little nature spirit defending its adopted territory, probably a gnome. No, not like the little guy you bought at Home Depot and put in your yard. This was the real kind. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Put a little gnomey to it. That's right. Gnomes, the other white meat. Right. Well, there you go, people. I don't know what happened to that, so we'll just yay. Okay, well, it's gonna be one of those nights I see. All right, well, moving right along, we're gonna blast this bad boy up because it is time for a camping tips for stupids. There we go. And now it is not going to display anything. Isn't that lovely? Well, I am so sorry. Let's see here. We're not going to do that. Well, there you have it, folks. Yeah, it's going to be one of those nights. Now, all of a sudden, the cameras aren't working, and I'm hoping that the audio works. So we'll give this Camping Tips for Stupid a shot out there, and we'll see how that works out. And if it doesn't, well, I'm really sorry, because everything's kind of gone a little haywire here at YouTube as usual. Isn't this great? All right. Well, hopefully you'll be able to hear this. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to.
Camping Tips for Stupids. Tip number 30. Navigation. For thousands of years, there have been a select few who led the way. A select few who pointed in a direction and said, "That way, y'all." And the ones that came back lived on to breed this magical gift of pointing and that way y'all to the world. Then some jackass invented tools that did the job for us and did it way better. So the select few got jobs and stopped pointing. Thanks, assholes. Thanks a lot. But whoever named the sextant, you're all right. Navigation on the trail isn't a lightly taken thing by the hardcore camper. GPSs, compasses, sextants are all important gear in your arsenal to keep mega bitch Mother Nature from luring you off the trail and killing you. So remember to pack good quality gear in this area of gear. You really don't want to go cheap when it comes to safety. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. That way, y'all.
That way, y'all. That's right. Well, thank you very much, sir. Make sure you spay and neuter your idiot populations. Yeah, boy, this is just going to be one of them nights that you just don't really want to believe is going to be this way. But unfortunately for me, there you have it. So let's go ahead and give our shout outs here, and we'll see who's hanging out in the live lounge hangout tonight. Hello, everybody out there. So glad you can join us. I guess we're doing an audio only version of the show tonight. We'll see how that turns out. I guess the information is what's the important part. There she is, Miss Squatchbox. Hey, Cassie, I'm glad you're feeling up to watching us tonight. Titan Glass 88. There you are. You're there. I'm here. Makes everything awesome. Hunter, how you doing there, sir? Tim McCune. Yep, it has been a while. I'm glad to be back. Can Squanch is in the house with us tonight. Hello there. Hello there. Natalie Smith, hope you're feeling well. Max McCune, well, glad you are here with us as well. Let's see here. Christy, the monster truck gal. Hello there. Glad you're with us. Mr. Don Rife. Hello there, sir. Glad you are with us as well. Brown Dwarf. Howdy, howdy. And Mr. Chris Cullen is in the house tonight, along with Mr. Lance Windsor. Hello, sir. Rod Dupree, he's always in the place to be. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Cute. Oh, got it all over the microphone as usual, but we're glad you're with us in the house, pal. There's our quasi-scientist, Mr. Dean Cooper. That's right. If you listen to that long enough, it'll drive you crazy. I saw Squatchy Inc. was in the house. Hello there, Mr. Squatchy Inc., your old pal Wes. That's right. He's hanging out with us. Don't forget to check out his Redbubble at Squatchy Inc. That's true. Obsidian Radio is in the house with us tonight. Hello there. Maria Allegria. Hello there. Glad you were with us. I had to get the old dyslexic eyeballs to work for a moment. Mr. Fang, 3. There you go, sir. Richard Barfield. Hello. Glad you are with us as well. The Reverend Matthew Gaines is in the house. Hello there. Hello there. I see Karen Robb is in the house. Mr. Spike Jeff is hanging out with us tonight. There's the Forest Cop. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Let's see who else is in the house tonight. I know there's some more down here at the bottom. I ain't anywhere near the bottom of this yet, and I don't want to miss anybody. So we'll roll on down here. Barry Bishop, hello there. Glad you're checking in with us tonight as well. Grab her by the Paldies. There he is. That's right. I still open debate for Aaron for David Paldies. Anytime, anywhere, any topic he wants to talk about. Doesn't have to be Bigfoot. I'll wipe the floor with you. Aaron Duncan. Hello there, sir. Glad you are with us as well. I know there's more in here. Wow, my eyes are really playing tricks on me tonight. They do not like to read this little tiny text, that's for sure. John Briers, if I didn't say hi to you, I have now. Glad you are with us. Sweating in Baldies, hello there. I don't know if those are two of the same guy, but I don't think so. I think they are actually different people, which is very, very strange to say the least. Robe Rubbles, hello there. Rubbles, I never really am sure which way it goes. All right, now we're getting down towards the bottom of this mess to see if you haven't said hi. I don't know you're here, so you better get to it. Otherwise, I won't know. There's Cindy Howison. Hello. Glad I didn't miss you too. So there you go, gang. If you haven't said hi yet, try it, and we'll see if we can't get to it before the end of the night. All right, here we go, people. So we're talking about the Grays Harbor Track tonight. 1982, spring, June. There's actually a bunch of collections of this particular animal's track over that spring and summer, which was very useful, to be honest with you. The four different places were the Abbott Hill, the Woman's Bar, Elma Gate, and Potter Creek. Numerous dates listed within the report. Those witnesses listed above had an unusual scenes to be undetermined as the origin of the evidence found. It should be noted that all materials used for process were scenes and supplied by the individuals themselves, and results there are retained personally by said individuals, copies of blah, 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 blah. This is literally like the most sold track out there as far as Bigfoot is concerned. Now, on the original sighting or the original event on April 22nd, 1982, approximately 4 o'clock in the afternoon, private citizen contacted the investigator in reference to a number of large tracks found in a fairly secluded area on the eastern portion of Grays Harbor County. The location is also known as Abbott Hill to the local residents and is rarely traveled or visited. It consisted of a 2-year-old clear cut on privately owned timberland surrounded by second growth timber and heavily vegetated forest floor. Presently, one other area in the clear cut and one dividing the clear cut with short spurs off of each of it. They photographed both tracks and made plaster casts of the left foot. The tracks measured 15.5 inches long by 6 3/4 inches wide. The longest and widest points, at the deepest point into the mud, the track measured 1.5 inches deep. The plaster cast was retrieved and entered into evidence. A hair was also removed from between the second and third toes of the track and sent to the Institute of Cryptozoology in Tucson, Arizona for analyzation. No results were ever obtained for that particular sample. More tracks were observed, photographed, measured, and processed at the end of the spur, approximately 1/4 of a mile from the first set of tracks. The longest step at that location measured 9 feet between steps, and only the ball of the foot indistinguishable at the end of the 9-foot step from a trail, broken vegetation, and mat grass went down into the hillside. At the same time, they were informed that more tracks located 7 miles west of their location along the Satstop River, a place called Woman's Bar. Upon investigation, they found 2 separate sets of tracks together, both starting from under the water, traveling westerly and ending in a hard-packed gravel, which made tracking it obviously difficult. Now, on April 27th, they were informed by Officer Jim Young of the Oakland Police Department of a number of numerous tracks discovered along the Chehalis River in an area known as Elma Gate Boat Launch. According to Jim, these tracks were followed approximately half-mile upstream. The sergeant had gone to the area, photographed, measured, and processed the scene. Hutchison retained the cast of the left foot. The measurement was 15 inches long by 6 1/4 inches wide at the longest and widest part of the left track. Further investigation revealed a trail of approximately 1 mile, steps measuring 59 inches to 34 inches in space between them. Now, on May 23rd of 1982, the pastor of the local church near Potter Creek area was brought them in for an investigation of large tracks sighted in a fairly secluded area of Capitol Forest. They were escorted to the scene and they found 4 tracks in the area. Numerous photos were taken of the tracks, and 2 casts were made of the 2 tracks. The aspen tree was scratched in such a way indicating 5 fingers or like items were used to make the marks. The lower marks were located 72 inches from the ground, and the highest was located at 98 inches from the ground. This portion of the tree was removed and held in evidence. Numerous branches were broken from 8 feet to approximately 11 feet in the trees. A wad of approximately 12 ferns, minus the roots, were found at the creek, with 2 new growth portions of aspen branches. A subsequent search of the opposite banks of the creek revealed numerous tracks traveling downstream, and the area the tracks were located in is a sharp bank covered with ground and devil's club. The tracks were followed approximately 1.5 miles and then were lost at the edge of a clear cut. And that seems to be the thing. So, it's not just one person that found these particular cats, and they're knowing that there's more than one particular animal. And I really, really wish this camera system would work tonight, because then I would be able to share this with you, so that you can see the picture that I'm talking about. If you have access to Google, just search the Grays Harbor Bigfoot Track and it'll come up. This is so very frustrating that this isn't working. I really, really wish that it would. Oh, anyhow, let's move on just a little bit. If you go to the cliffrackman.com site and search for the 1982 Grays Harbor Bigfoot footprint casts, a really good example of them actually will come up. One of the best documented footprints was in Grays Harbor County, Washington, 1982. Over a period of a few months, at least 9 footprints were found and cast by witnesses, the local police, and a small number of Bigfooters, including Dr. Grover Krantz and Cliff Crook. However, it has come to his attention that 2 very good quality replicas are being commercially and legally sold. The casts in question come from the original molds made by Dr. Grover Krantz and licensed to Skulls Unlimited, a commercial fossil supplier. The cast can be bought as a pair from their particular website, and I do have that website here. It is skullsunlimited.com, and they do have a copy of it up there for $37, and it's a really, really good copy of that particular footprint. Now, the track line produced 2 half casts from where the creature was running. One half cast was taken back in 1982 and is well documented in the literature, but the other has been recent discovery and documented in the DVD Bigfoot Road Trip. Both half casts are on this particular webpage as well. And I do have a copy of the half cast as well as the full cast in my collection. And the importance of the half cast is literally it's just the front part of the foot that dug into the ground as it was running across the hard-packed road, showing the flexibility in the foot that the heel never actually hit the ground, which is what they say is the difference between the way a Bigfoot runs and the way a human runs. A human runs heel to toe, where a Bigfoot kind of runs mid-foot to toe, mid-foot to toe. So it's one of those interesting tidbits that go along with this particular discovery is the fact that there are half tracks that go along with the full casted track as well in a trackway. That does make it kind of important. One of the most popular and collectible Bigfoot casts, of course, seemingly most perfectly imprinted Sasquatch track in existence is this Grays Harbor cast. And if you look at it, it actually looks like this is the one that has the dermal ridges. It appears to have some sort of skin texture at the very least that's evident within the cast. But you have to remember, you've got to get back to a generation 2 or a generation 3 cast to see that. Most of these things have been remolded and recast and remolded and recast so many times that all the details in them have actually been lost. Now, the question came up as to who made the first copy of the cast available for sale is possibly unknown, although it appears that Bob Titmus sold the first copies of the Bigfoot cast found around Bluff Creek in 1958 and 59. But what's known today is specific 1967 film track copy is certainly the most recognized Bigfoot cast in the world. Used to be the Patterson footprint, but now for sure is definitely the most sold is that Grays Harbor track. Dr. Carl Schucker, Grays Harbor, Washington, was one of the guys involved with this particular. Deputies of tracks found in May 1982, Grays Harbor Sheriff's Department, Washington State, and they're impressive. I mean, they don't look as impressive when you get to generation 3 and 4 copies, but those original generation copies really, really do tend to have it. Are there Bigfoot still in Grays Harbor? That becomes a good question. There's still articles from the GraysHarborTalk.com. Shrouded in mystery and lore, the legendary Sasquatch is said to be lurking in the remote forests around Grays Harbor. Out of the dense primeval woods of the Olympic Peninsula, where few people venture each year, the mythical ape-like creature is said to be living. Occasionally sighted by visitors and locals alike, nearly everyone in Grays Harbor has or has known someone who's had a Bigfoot experience, making the region one of the most likely places to encounter a Sasquatch. Deep in the timbered river valleys, the Grays Harbor region is the ideal place to possibly make a believer of even the biggest skeptics. So, there you have it. The Grays Harbor Bigfoot track casts. There's no element of hoax around them. No one who's ever investigated them feels as though that they were contrived or non-genuine. Unlike a lot of the other things that happened before this, involved a lot of questionable people. People say that Patterson himself was a shyster, and that's one of the reasons that the Patterson Gimlin footage gets so much crap on it. Me personally, I don't think that's the case. But these footprints, the Grays Harbor Bigfoot track casts, are really probably some of the most impressive ones that you could have out there. And if you wanted one in your collection, I'd say this is the the Bigfoot footprints from Skulls Unlimited would probably be the place to get it. And with that, my friends, seeing as how all you're staring at is an icon on the screen, and I'm continuing to give you an audio-only version of this, we're going to wrap up this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I want to thank all of you guys for out there for being there. I do have a brand new Bigfoot campfire story. Well, another Bigfoot campfire story coming for you in just a moment. So with that, thank you so much for being here. I will see you guys next week for another track cast of something else. Who knows what? Hopefully the cameras will work again next week and I can actually share that kind of stuff with you. And with that, may the Squatch be with you. Enjoy this new Bigfoot campfire story. What the hell is that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that was a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. Welcome to another Bigfoot Campfire Stories. It was the summer of 1999, and I was investigating an area of farmland within the Ocala National Forest. While I checked in with the local grocery store and picked up some supplies, the clerk I usually talk to pulled me aside and told me I should head up 19 apiece and talk to the sheep rancher near Grasshopper Lake. So I finished up my business. That's exactly where I went next. This is the story that the rancher told me. Well, I had been out on my four-wheeler all day with the dogs rounding up the sheep. Me and the dogs were on the back meadow area, and the sheep weren't acting right at all. Usually they know the drill and they just let the dogs do their jobs, but today that just wasn't the case. Well, there was a narrow wooded cut that we had to go through to get onto the other side, and none of the sheep wanted to enter it whatsoever. Well, every time we got the sheep moving, they would all turn when they got to the wood line, and it just made no sense at all. So I drove my four-wheeler into the tree line and checked for any predators, and sure enough, there was a really nasty odor of something dead. Well, I searched the area until I found the source, and sure enough, it was one of my sheep, dead and ripped open at the organs. Something had gotten to it, that was for sure. The neck was snapped straight back, very strangely. Well, I had to get this herd past its spot, so I went back and I grabbed the lead sheep and I put her across my four-wheeler, and finally the sheep followed us through the woods and back towards the corral. Well, I'd planned to go out later and burn the body in place and get rid of the smell of the carcass. Once on the other side of the wood patch, I put the lead sheep back down and the dogs took care of the rest, and things seemed pretty normal after that. Well, it was getting late and the sun had already set long before I was finished putting the sheep up, so it was too late to bother with that carcass for now, so I just put the dogs up on my four-wheeler into the barn and went inside for dinner. Well, I'd cleaned up and sat down with the wife to eat, and she asked me if I caught the animal that was running around the backyard just before I came in. She said he'd been out there for a while this afternoon, just pushing trees around and whooping like a big monkey or something. Well, I thought for sure she was joking, but the Seminoles have legends of Bigfoot around here. Could they be right? Well, we were finishing up our meal when the whooping started again from just out back. Well, I grabbed my big flashlight and we headed out to the back porch. We stood there listening to something in the wood line right behind the house. Every once in a while, it would whoop like a big, loud, deep monkey. Well, I stepped off the porch alone, and I told the wife to stay where she was, and I walked down towards the wood line, calling out to try and scare whatever it was away. Well, just as I got close to the wood line, everything, and I mean everything, got silent. It was very eerie feeling. I shined the light around trying to make out anything, but it was dark out there. Well, I turned around to start to walk back towards the house, and before I could react, something ran out of the woods, grabbed me by the leg, and was dragging me into the woods. Well, I still had my light, so I was shining it right on whatever the hell it was. I couldn't believe it, but this was a giant ape Bigfoot thing, had me securely around the leg. Well, I began kicking it with the other leg and shining a light at its head, and it finally dropped me about 12 meters or so into the woods and then scampered off. The wife screaming out for me. She had already grabbed my shotgun from inside the house, called 911. I could hear her yelling at them on the phone that some monster had carried me off into the woods. Well, I called out to her so she wouldn't shoot me, I ran my way back into the house. Well, a few minutes later, the local sheriff showed up with 3 cars and a canine, and they went straight out to the backyard and began searching for anything. Well, it wasn't long before huge footprints were located near the creek in the back, leading away from the property. Well, the men tracked it up the creek for a while, but until the tracks just went cold, the dogs lost all interest, so they all returned back to my farm. We talked about what happened, and they kept asking me what the guy looked like, but they weren't very happy when I kept telling them he was 8 foot tall, covered in hair, and whooped like a huge monkey. The sheriff kept insisting that he couldn't put that in the report, and after an hour of arguing with him, he finally marked it down as unknown animal attack. Filled out his paperwork just the same way. Well, the wife and I now stay vigilant, and I never leave the house unarmed anymore. It was the single most disturbing thing I've ever had happen to me in all my years. Well, this farmer knows what it's like to be challenged by a Bigfoot and never wants to know that feeling again. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff. May the Squatch be with you.